Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into something pretty interesting today, something kind of unique. We've got two different perspectives on the same artwork.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and we have a visual art description from a book,
Uh-huh.
and then we've got a YouTube video transcript.
Okay.
And they're both focused on a YouTube video transcript,
Okay.
and they're both focused on a painting called The Old Man and the Sea.
Interesting.
Yeah, so we're going to explore how these different forms of analysis can reveal all these distinct layers of meaning within the same artwork.
It's pretty amazing, actually, how these two sources, even though they're looking at the same painting, offer really contrasting approaches to understanding it.
Right.
One goes like really deep into the technical aspects, and then the other one explores the philosophical side, which gives us a chance to really appreciate like the many different ways we can interpret art.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's start with that vivid description from the art book. It paints quite a picture with words.
Yeah.
We have this older man, weathered face, piercing gaze,
Mhm.
and he's wearing this rugged attire, a bucket hat and like a sturdy coat.
Uh-huh.
And the background is so intriguing. It's this kind of a mix of realism and expressive brushstrokes. What stands out to you about this visual description?
Well, I mean, the book's description immediately makes you think of like famous artists,
Yeah.
like Van Gogh,
Oh, yeah.
Wyeth,
Wow.
even Freud.
Right.
It's like the author is like nudging us to think about like how those artists might have influenced this painting style, the technique. It
Interesting.
really kind of sets the stage for us to explore the painting's like artistic context.
Okay, so we have this foundation of visual details,
Right.
and then we have these potential art historical influences.
Yeah.
So now let's kind of switch gears and jump into the YouTube video transcript.
All right.
They go in a completely different direction. They dive headfirst into these like huge philosophical concepts, mindfulness, impermanence, and even Zen Buddhism.
Wow.
So it's not just about what we see, it's about what the image makes us like feel and think about, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really interesting how the YouTube video just uses the painting as a jumping off point to, explore these big ideas.
Right.
Like it's suggesting that art can help us understand, these deep philosophical things.
Absolutely. And they even mention specific philosophical texts.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the I Ching and the Te Ching.
Okay.
So for our listeners who might not be familiar with those, could you give us a little background on what they are?
Of course. The I Ching, they also call it the Book of Changes.
Uh-huh.
It's this like really ancient Chinese text, and they use it for divination and wisdom. It's all about understanding how everything is connected
Oh, wow.
and how things are constantly changing,
Yeah.
And the Tao Te Ching is one of the most important texts in Taoism, which is all about living in harmony with the natural order of the universe.
Right, the Tao.
Exact.
Okay, so we have these two really different approaches.
Yeah.
So on one hand, we have the art book.
Uh-huh.
It's grounding us in those visual elements and the possible art historical influences.
Right.
And on the other, the YouTube video is encouraging us to go like deeper and contemplate these huge themes like mindfulness and the slow of change. It's like having two totally different lenses to view the same painting.
Exactly. And that's what makes this like so fascinating. We're seeing how different perspectives can totally change how we understand a single piece of art.
Right.
Like the art book gives us context.
Uh-huh.
It analyzes the artist's craft.
Yeah.
And then the YouTube video, it's all about the feelings the painting evokes, the
Yeah.
philosophical stuff. It's like it's reminding us that there's no right way to look at art.
Yeah.
Every viewpoint adds something new.
It's like having two different tour guides in a museum.
Oh, I like that.
One is like pointing out the brushstrokes and the composition,
Yeah.
while the other one is whispering secrets about what the artist was trying to say.
Mhm.
And like, the emotions the artwork's supposed to make you feel.
I love that.
They're both valuable.
Yeah.
And together they create this like richer experience.
That is a great analogy. It really highlights how important it is to be open to different interpretations when you're looking at art.
Right.
It's not about finding the right answer. It's about letting the artwork like spark your own thoughts and feelings, make you make your own connections.
Okay, so we've established these two contrasting approaches.
Yes.
Now let's dive into the specifics.
Okay.
Both sources talk about the symbolism in the painting,
Right.
and they both seem to agree that it's pretty thought-provoking stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, they both focus on the old man's like appearance, his clothes, how he seems connected to nature. It's
Okay.
like those things are telling us a story. about a life that's been lived, a connection to the elements, maybe even like resilience.
Right. And the way the light and shadow play across the canvas, that seems important too. What do you think that symbolizes?
Well, the way the light and shadow work together, I think that could be like a visual representation of duality. You
Mm.
know, the passage of time, the different sides of life.
Hmm.
It's saying that darkness and light, like joy and sorrow, they're all kind of mixed up together. They're both essential parts of being human, and both sources pick up on that, although they kind of come at it from different angles.
I'm also struck by how both sources emphasize the importance of observation,
Yeah.
both in how the painting was created and how we look at it. It's almost like the artwork itself is asking us to slow down and really pay attention.
That's a great observation. The book excerpt mentions the guy's direct yet reflective gaze, which makes you think of self-awareness.
Right.
And the YouTube video, it links this gaze to the idea of contemplation from the I Ching.
Oh, wow.
Like it's like the painting is telling us to look closely and think, not just about what's around us, but also what's going on inside us.
It's almost like a meditation, right?
Mm.
The painting invites us to just quiet our minds, observe, and contemplate,
Yeah.
to be present in our own lives, just like the old man is present in his environment.
Exactly. And remember, the YouTube video connected this to the I Ching's idea about contemplation.
Right.
It emphasizes taking time to really observe and be sure about things before you do anything.
Mm.
It's such a great reminder, especially now when everything's so fast-paced, to just slow down and like really connect with what's happening right now.
Like the painting is a visual representation of that ancient wisdom.
Yeah.
So much to think about. We've talked about art history, philosophy, and even practical stuff for our lives. And it all started with this one artwork. So if we're doing a deep dive into all these layers of meaning.
It really is. It just shows you how art can go beyond boundaries.
Mhm.
It connects us to ideas and truths that are like way deeper than what you see on the surface.
Before we wrap up this part, I want to go back to what the YouTube video said about connecting with nature.
Okay.
They talk about how the painting inspires us to step outside, engage with the natural world, and allow yourself to observe without judgment. And I was wondering what your thoughts are on that.
I think they're telling us to find that feeling of wonder, that feeling of awe that we tend to forget about because we're all so busy.
Yeah.
It's about taking time to just enjoy the simple beauty of nature,
Ah,
to be present in your surroundings,
right.
to observe without like trying to put everything in a box or overthink it.
Right.
Just like the old man seems to find peace and understanding in the wilderness, I think we can do the same.
Yeah, that resonates with me. It's like hitting the reset button on how we see things, right?
Yeah.
Like allowing ourselves to see the world with fresh eyes. Do you think that's what the YouTube video means by observing without judgment?
Absolutely. It's about quieting those thoughts in your head that mess with how you see things.
Yeah.
Just letting yourself experience the world as it is without forcing your opinions on it.
Right.
It's about being open to the beauty and like the wisdom that nature offers.
It makes me think about all the times I've rushed through a hike or a walk in the park without really, paying attention to what's around me. I wonder what I've missed by not slowing down and observing more mindfully.
And remember what the YouTube video said. They connected it to what the I Ching teaches. To know the world, look within.
Oh, right.
It's about realizing that the journey of like discovering yourself and exploring the world, they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
By connecting with nature, by looking at the natural world without judging it, we actually learn more about ourselves.
That's such a powerful thought. And it reminds us that the old man in the painting, he's not just like some figure in a landscape.
Mhm.
He's like a reflection of us.
Right.
Just like the YouTube video said, his complexity mirrors the wilderness around him. Like we all have so much going on inside. Our inner landscapes are huge, and it's worth exploring them.
Yeah. It's amazing how this painting, The Old Man and the Sea, can really make you think, even without actually seeing it.
You're so right. It's like we're putting together a puzzle with these two sources.
Mm.
The visual stuff from the book and the philosophical insights from the YouTube video, they really work together.
Yeah.
They help us get a much better understanding of the painting.
Yeah.
And speaking of specifics, I can't stop thinking about the old man himself. What kind of life do you think he's led, based on what we're reading here?
Well, both sources really highlight his, like, genuineness.
Mm.
The book describes his lived-in realism and quiet dignity, and the YouTube video calls him unadorned by pretense. What do you think that means?
To me, it sounds like he's the kind of guy who is totally comfortable with himself,
Mm.
wrinkles and all,
Yeah.
like his weathered face. It's like evidence of a life full of experiences, hard times, good times, all the things that have shaped him into who he is.
That's a really good point, and the YouTube video connects that idea to the Taoist principle of going with the flow, like being in tune with nature's rhythms. If you think about it, the old man's wrinkles and stuff, they're not seen as bad things, right?
Right.
They're seen as like a sign of his harmony with nature, like he accepts the changes that time brings, you know?
I love that interpretation. It's like he embodies this wisdom of accepting the ups and downs of life,
Yeah.
how nothing stays the same forever. That ties in perfectly with that idea of impermanence that the YouTube video talked about earlier.
Totally. It's this fascinating paradox that the painting seems to be exploring.
Hmm.
On one hand, you have this sense of everything constantly changing,
Right.
and yet you also get this feeling of stillness and presence from the old man.
Yeah.
The book excerpt talks about his direct yet reflective gaze,
Yeah.
and the YouTube video calls his steady gaze a sign of mindfulness.
That makes me think about being present in the moment, even when everything around you is changing.
Yeah.
It's like a reminder to embrace the fact that life is dynamic, but also to find that inner peace within yourself.
You've got it. It's about that balance, accepting change, and also being fully present in each moment. Remember, the YouTube video linked this idea to the I Ching's focus on contemplation.
Right.
In a world that's always pushing us to hurry up and react, the painting tells us to pause, observe, and get clear about things before we do anything.
It's like the painting is showing us that ancient wisdom in a visual way.
Exactly.
So much to think about. We've talked about art history, philosophy, and even practical life lessons,
Wow.
all from this one piece of art. It's truly a deep dive into all these layers of meaning.
It definitely is. And it shows how powerful art is, how it can connect us to things that go way beyond just what we see.
So true. Okay, before we move on, I want to go back to what the YouTube video was saying about connecting with nature.
Ah.
They talk about how the painting encourages us to step outside, engage with the natural world, and allow yourself to observe without judgment.
Hmm.
What do you think about that?
I think it's a call for us to rediscover that sense of wonder, that awe that we often lose touch with because life gets in the way, you know?
Yeah.
It's about making time to appreciate the simple beauty of nature, to be present in our surroundings and to observe without trying to label everything or analyze it. Like the old man seems to find peace and understanding in nature, and I think we can too.
That makes sense to me. It's like hitting the reset button on how we see the world, right?
Exactly.
Allowing ourselves to see things with fresh eyes. Is that what the YouTube video means by observing without judgment?
Absolutely. It means quieting that inner voice that tends to cloud our perception and just allowing ourselves to experience the world as it is without forcing our own ideas onto it.
Yeah.
It's about being open to the beauty and the wisdom that nature offers.
Yeah, it makes me think about all the times I've rushed through a hike or a walk in the park without really paying attention to my surroundings. Like, what have I missed by not slowing down and being more mindful?
And remember, the YouTube video linked this idea to the Tao Te Ching, too. They said, to know the world, look within. It's about understanding that, exploring the world around us and the journey of getting to know ourselves, they're connected.
Right, right.
By connecting with nature, by observing the natural world without judging it, we learn more about ourselves, too.
That's a powerful thought. It reminds me that the old man in the painting, he's not just a figure in a landscape. He's like a reflection of us.
Yes.
Just like the YouTube video mentions, his complexity is a mirror of the wilderness around him. We also have a lot going on inside us.
We do.
Our inner landscapes are vast and worth exploring.
It's pretty incredible, isn't it? How one painting can spark so many different ideas and conversations.
We've really gone deep today, haven't we? It's amazing how the old man in the sea has given us so much to think about just through these two interpretations.
It really shows how powerful art is. You know, it connects us to something bigger, makes us think and reflect.
So true. Okay, let's take a second to recap what we've learned from these two different perspectives.
Okay.
We started with that visual description from the book,
Right.
which focused on the painting's details and possible art historical influences.
And then we moved on to those philosophical interpretations from the YouTube video,
Right.
exploring those big ideas like mindfulness, impermanence, and the teachings of Zen Buddhism and Taoism.
And all along the way, we found these connections between art, philosophy, and how we live our lives.
Yeah.
The focus on really looking and thinking, the old man's connection to nature, the wisdom of accepting change. It's also fascinating.
It's a great reminder that art can be like a mirror, showing us our own values and beliefs, even our own experiences.
Oh,
But it can also be like a window, opening up our minds to new perspectives and possibilities.
I love that. A mirror and a window. I'm imagining this painting hanging in a gallery now, bathed in that, like, soft light. Can you picture it?
Yeah.
Standing there, taking in all those details we've talked about?
Oh, yeah. I can almost feel the texture of the old man's skin, the way he's looking right at you.
Right.
That sense of stillness, that quiet presence. It makes you want to slow down, connect with that feeling of peace and thoughtfulness that the painting has.
It sounds like a really powerful experience, and because of this deep dive, our listeners can approach the artwork with a better understanding, a deeper appreciation, even if they haven't actually seen it with their own eyes.
Exactly. And next time you're out in nature, try to tap into that same kind of observation we've been talking about.
Okay.
Notice the details, the textures, the way the light and shadow play. Just be present in the moment, like the old man seems to be in the painting.
And remember what the YouTube video said, observe without judgment.
Yes.
Be open to the experience, the beauty, the wisdom that's all around you.
You never know what you'll discover when you look at the world with that kind of open mind.
Well said. I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. But before we go, I really want to encourage everyone to check out The Old Man and the Sea online. See the painting for yourselves and let your own interpretations come to life.
And remember, the biggest takeaway from our conversation today, take the time to observe, to reflect, to connect with the world outside and the world inside you.
What a great thought to end on. Thanks for joining us on this awesome journey, everyone, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.